Okay, in problem set 11, we're going to talk about multiplying expressions. But to understand that, you really have to have the concepts from previous sections down, like especially the difference between multiplying integers versus adding integers. Okay, so problem set 10 was really important. Make sure you focus on that one. Okay, so let's start off by giving you some practice problems. Go ahead, hit the pause button. Try these on your own. We'll go over them in just a minute. Okay, here we go. Let's see, the first one, when you multiply two negative integers together, you get a positive 35 in this case. Second one, when you add two negative integers, it becomes more negative, right? Negative 12. Third one, what's negative 7x plus 5? Not like terms. You can't do anything. It's just negative 7x plus 5. On the next ones, what's negative 7x plus 5x? Those are like terms, so you get negative 2x. And on number E, what's negative 7x plus 5y? Can't do anything, not like terms. Now on the very last one, you can actually add the negative 7x to the negative x and get negative 8x, and then you just got to leave it as negative 8x plus 5y. Okay, let's keep going here. Let's look at the difference between these two today. The difference between negative 7 times 3 and negative 7 times 3y. Negative 7 times 3 is just negative 21, right? Negative 7 times 3y, remember what 3y means? It means 3 times y, right? So it's really negative 7 times 3 times y. It's really three numbers that are being multiplied there, right? Well, what's negative 7 times 3? Negative 21. You just got to leave it as negative 21 times y because you don't know what y is. So that's your answer, negative 21 times y. Now don't get this confused with adding like terms. These are not terms. These are numbers that are multiplied together. We're going to have a name for this in just a second. But don't get this confused with this problem here. These are not like terms. But don't call these terms. Terms are numbers being added, right? These are being multiplied. A couple more. Speaking of terms, what's negative 7 plus 3y? Not like terms. Interesting. Look, you can multiply negative 7 times 3y and get negative 21y. But you can't add negative 7 plus 3y because they're not like terms. In that sense, adding is actually more fussy. It's hard to add expressions than it is to multiply them, isn't it? That's what we're seeing here. Now when you see negative 7x times 3y, again, those aren't terms. Those are numbers being multiplied. This means negative 7 times x times 3 times y. Is it okay to multiply the negative 7 times the 3? Is that legal? Yeah, that's just the commutative law, right? Negative 7 times 3 is negative 21, and then you just got to leave it as x times y. Could you leave it as negative 21y times x? Would that be okay? Sure, because the commutative law says you can multiply in any order. How about this one? What's negative 7x plus 3y? And the answer is negative 7x plus 3y. They're not like terms, right? Let's look at one more. Look at this, negative 2t times 3y times negative x. Even if you don't write this step, you really got to think of it this way. This means negative 2 times t times 3 times y times negative 1 times x. There's really 6 numbers here that are being multiplied. And it's okay to multiply the negative 2 times the 3 times the negative 1. Do you know what that is? Negative 2 times 3 times negative 1? Why, that's 6. And then the variables, since you don't know what they are, just leave it as t times x times y. That's your answer. And of course you can write those variables in any order. It's kind of nice in this problems like this to write the variables in alphabetical order. You'll see in just a little bit why that's a good idea. But here we go. Definition. Numbers that are being multiplied are called factors. Okay? Factors are numbers or expressions being multiplied. Don't get that confused with terms. Terms are numbers or expressions that are being added. Got it? Factors are being multiplied, terms are being added. And what we were saying was you can only add like terms. You can't add these, they're not like terms. But when you multiply on this one right here, this is negative 2 times t times 3 times y times negative 1 times x. You could think of this as 6 factors, right? There are 6 numbers being multiplied here. Let's go back. How many factors do you see here? There's really 4. There's negative 7 times x times 3 times y. 4 factors. How about here? 2 terms. You see? How about here? 3 factors. Negative 7 times 3 times y. how many, what do you see here? 2 factors, right? Okay, so factors are numbers or expressions being multiplied. Terms are numbers or expressions being added. Keep that straight. Let's do a few more, then I'll give you some to try. When you look at this problem, you're trying to, the instructions here would be simplify it, by the way. You can add the like terms, right? So you get 8m inside the parentheses. Now you multiply negative 2 times x times 8 times m. You can think of that as 4 factors now, right? You get negative 16mx. On this one, even if you don't write this down, you got to think of it this way. This means negative 1 times y times 3 times m times negative 5 times z. So how many factors do you see on this step right here? How many factors are there? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 factors, right? So when you multiply all the factors together, you get 15myz. Okay, why don't you go ahead, hit the pause button, and try these. We'll go over them in just a minute. Okay, here we go. Factors or terms? These are factors, right? 3 times x times 5 times y. When you multiply, you get negative 15 x times y. Factors or terms? Terms. Are they like terms? No. So you just got to leave it like that. On this one, let's see. Let's simplify this. We can add inside the parentheses, right? Those are like terms, so you get negative 2a. Then you're multiplying negative 7y times negative 2a. There should be 4 factors there. And you get 14ay, or ya. Let's just leave it in alphabetical order, though, since it's okay to do that. Factors or terms? Factors. Negative 5 times x times 3 times y times negative 1 times z. There are 6 factors. You can multiply the negative 5 times the 3 times the negative 1 and get positive 15. And then the variables, let's just leave it as x, y, z. Look at these last two. This one, negative 7c, negative 7ac plus 3b times 2c. You could multiply 3b times 2c. Isn't that just 6bc? Now, but can you add these two together now? These are terms, right? They're not like terms. That's your final answer, negative 7ac plus 6bc. This last one. If you wanted to simplify this, you could multiply these two together. Remember, this is negative 2 times x times 3 times y. So that's going to be negative 6xy, right? On this one, though, this is negative 6 times y times negative 1 times x. You can multiply this negative 6 times the negative 1 and get positive 6xy. Remember, you can change the order of the letters because of the commutative law. Are these like terms? Yeah, they are. So can you combine them? Yeah, you get 0. Negative 6xy plus 6xy is 0. Okay, that's it. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.